Hi, my name is Mimi Enright, and I'm the program coordinator for the University of California Master Gardener Program of Sonoma County. I'm here to share an exciting project we did in partnership with a major municipality in our county, Santa Rosa, that we call Climate Forward Trees. The goal was to develop a recommended palette of tree species that are likely to thrive in our projected climate. For some context, Sonoma County is in Northern California. California has a Mediterranean climate typified by mild, wet winters and warm to hot, dry summers. We are also described as a summer dry climate in that the majority of our rainfall occurs in winter with little to no rainfall in the summer months. We are already experiencing climate change impacts on a regular basis here in Sonoma County. Forecasted impacts include more periods of drought, increasing number and duration of extreme heat events. When we do get rain, it will likely be in more dramatic intervals where we receive possibly upwards of 10 inches of rain over several days, known as atmospheric rivers, which then, of course, leads to increased occurrence of flooding. And we certainly have been experiencing increased frequency and intensity of wildfires. Since 2017, we have experienced 4 major wildfire events, a flooding event, extreme drought, and atmospheric rivers. In California in particular, we need to be much more cognizant of water use. We are currently in year 3 of an extreme drought, and last experienced a multi-year drought that started in 2013. We do advocacy work in our program on landscape water use efficiency, including advocacy for use of low water use plants in home landscapes. In 2021, Claire Nordley, the sustainability coordinator for the City of Santa Rosa, approached our program about the possibility of developing a list of trees that are likely to do well with the changing climate conditions projected in 30 to 50 years. This was inspired by the University of California Climate Ready Tree Project. The purpose of that study was to evaluate the ability of promising but underused species to tolerate stressors of future climates, with the intent to shift the palette of trees planted to species that will make urban forests healthier and more resilient. We presented the City of Santa Rosa with a grant proposal, and we launched the project in the summer of 2021 and presented the Climate Forward Tree List to the city in January of 2022. As many of us are aware, trees provide important ecosystem services, and they are a critical tool to combat climate change and help us adapt. We can play a critical role in advocating for the use of trees that will thrive in our future climate. To launch our project, we started with climate projections and the current best information on Santa Rosa's projected climate in the years 2050 to 2100, using climate change projection tools available through the state of California. We were very fortunate to have 2 University of California Cooperative Extension advisors, Dr. Igor Lachin and Janet Harton, with extensive expertise and research experience in climate-forward urban forestry. Based on the climate projections, we narrowed in on 2 key aspects: average high temperature and extreme heat days, to finalize our substitution of space for time projection. Selecting a tree in central Southern California called Paso Robles, with a current climate similar to the projected climate for the City of Santa Rosa. We eventually honed in on 8 criteria by which to evaluate species to develop our recommended tree list. We rated 5 of these criteria as most important, and thus we double weighted them. Drought tolerance became an absolute requirement from the City of Santa Rosa, given the variabilities in rainfall expected and recurrent droughts that we experience. We are lucky to have a resource developed by the University of California at Davis called WUCLS, which stands for Water Use Classification of Landscape Species, which provides estimated water use of landscape plants based on various regions in the state of California. We only chose trees that were rated as low or very low water use. We assigned a double weighting to drought tolerance, temperature tolerance, pest resistance, damage resilience, and whether it was a species native to California. Other criteria we considered but didn't give additional weighting to included nuisance factor, maintenance required, and whether they are habitat friendly. To begin developing a list of trees to assess, we started with the current recommended tree list for the city of Paso Robles and then compared that with the current tree list for the city of Santa Rosa. We assessed current tree recommendations advocated by our program and used California native plant resources such as CalScape, as well as the Cal Poly Select Tree resource and other science-based sources, along with the experience and expertise of the group based on their gardening experience here in Sonoma County. We also classified the trees by several other additional characteristics, such as where they would most likely be used, tree size, and other general attributes, such as whether they are evergreen or deciduous, and what sun aspect they require to thrive. This is a scaled down version of part of the spreadsheet the team used to rate and evaluate the trees with their weighted ratings. Here's an example of a California native tree that we currently recommend for use in Sonoma County that made the cut for the Climate Forward Trees list, Circus occidentalis or Western Redbud. This shows how the scoring played out. For this tree, it is native to this area and is expected to be temperature tolerant. It also scored a 6 in drought tolerance. The total score for this tree was 35. Cutoff to be on the list was a rating of 25, with a 6 on drought tolerance as a mandatory requirement. We did have some species that are not currently heavily used, nor as readily available in the landscape trade, that we added to our list. This is Parkinsonia Microfila, or little leaf palo verde. It has good pest resistance, is native to California, though not specifically to our region, and of course has a high drought tolerance. So how can you replicate our approach in your area? Start by developing a climate projection model. Utilize climate projection tools in your state. Again, we selected maximum high temperature and extreme heat days as our key comparators. Engage expert advisors. We modeled our project after the UC Davis Climate Ready Trees project and consulted with regional cooperative extension, urban forestry, and environmental horticulture advisors. Select your target city. Based on our climate projections, our identified target city is Paso Robles, with current average maximum temperature and extreme heat days comparable to the year 2050 to 2100 projection for the city of Santa Rosa. Develop your target tree list. We started with the current City of Paso Robles tree list and then supplemented with many other sources. Develop your tree selection criteria. Identify and assign weights to your selection criteria. Review and score identified trees. Each selection criteria scored a 1 for low, 2 for moderate or better, or 3 for high or best. Each criteria is then multiplied by the weighting factor you select to calculate a total score. Our goal was to choose the 30 highest scoring trees. You're then ready to scrub and finalize your list. Add additional characteristics that are beneficial for tree selection, such as suggested planting locations, such as tree, patio or backyard, specimen, or large property, sun or shade aspect, and whether they're evergreen or deciduous. Here's a link to our program website and a QR code to the plant list. We hope that our project inspires you to create a climate-forward trees list for your community of tree species to plant now that will thrive in the future.